Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. You know, there are righteous women, pious women, modest women that of course, they want everybody else to find their spouse and other people to be happy, but they're wondering, what happened to me? What happened to me? And when I'm saying this, I'm talking about in the world in general. And, they want to find a good husband. They want to have kids. They want to be financially stable and even have, a bit extra. You understand? They want to have a good life. They want to be able to go to holy places. And they're wondering, what happened to me? Now, just to put it in, people, since we're talking about a woman looking at it, so women look at, other women that are promiscuous, and they seem to get Elon Musk. He gets divorced until he finds, after a while, then he finds a pious woman. But, you understand? But in the beginning, people go after the non-pious woman. You understand? And some of them stay with them. You understand? And a pious woman in the beginning of life, she wants to get married. She doesn't want to have to wait 20 years until Elon Musk wakes up and realizes that you need a pious woman. You understand? So this is what women are going through. And so in essence, the non-pious woman, or the woman that's not so, is maybe a bit pious, but relatively not pious. You understand? She's out there. She's open. She's easily accessible. So if this happens, that happens. But at the end of the day, she gets married because she's accessible. A man could approach her. She. You understand? She's physically present. However, the pious women are being taught incorrectly to hide themselves. To hide themselves. Like God himself has to come and place the man before them and tell them that this is your man. This is how they're trained to think. And this is incorrect. If you would be available, meaning if you have two women, one woman completely available, the other one, she's also available, but it's in a controlled environment. Which one does a man want more? I can tell you as a man of course wants the pious woman. But the problem is today is that the pious woman it's not the fact that she's in a controlled environment. There's no way to approach her. She has taken piousness to an extent that she's acting like a monk, without realizing it. She's acting like someone who plans never to get married in her actions, meaning because if you try to approach her, it doesn't work. You get the feeling you shouldn't approach her, and there's no place that it's proper to approach her. Her parents will attack you, she will attack you, brothers and sisters, the people around her, the working place will attack you, her community will attack you, So she basically locked herself away, and that's what's causing the men to forget about her. Because a man is of course he wants the pious woman, but if she's basically 85% locked away, and it's very hard to access her, to even have a word with her, to do, to ask her out, whatever it may, you understand? We're talking about men that want, proper, we're talking about proper men, approaching a woman. So the man has no choice. Either he just goes for the promiscuous because a man has his needs and he can't get the righteous, so he goes for the one that's unfortunately not yet righteous. And marriage does have an ability to turn someone that's not righteous at the moment into righteous. Once you get married, you start getting more serious, especially when you have kids. So there's a process of success. However, and you'll actually meet a woman, you'll actually talk to her, you actually could date her. However, when you come to the righteous woman, we're talking about severe difficulties and a lot of hurt and pain. And a man just doesn't want to go through that. He understands a control environment. You create a dating house, an event, and you only allow in, proper good people. Of course, the promiscuous evil people will complain. Let them complain. Who cares? It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. You understand? So you need to have, I think the best thing is what I call a dating house. House in your community. If you're Jewish, you need to have a Jewish dating house. If you're a Christian, have a Christian dating house. You understand? There needs to be a dating house that the people that come in are vetted to be good, wholesome people, and they could meet, and there's an older couple there that helps them to look through the different factors and see if, because sometimes a man can be blown away by beauty. Sometimes a woman can be blown away by the man's height or his riches. You understand? So there's an older couple there to help you. In that structure, men would flock to it. The righteous women righteousness would rule that day. But when you don't have that structure and it's just fear mongering and everything is locked away, when righteousness is not done in the correct way, then evil takes over. Evil takes when you're being negligent, when you don't care about yourself enough. Evil comes in and takes that power. Fine, you want to be lazy? Evil has a lot of people to send that your way to take over that area. And this is the essence of the issue and what's happening. And if we really want to solve this, if the women really want to really care about themselves, they have to listen over to this and act upon it. It needs to be done. Simply a dating house. The people that come in are vetted. You understand? There should be, it depends on the scenario, but usually you have to have some type of fee, because otherwise everybody tries. Once you have a fee, it locks out a lot of the crazies, and then it's easier to vet. And once it's free, and then the crazies will always fight to get in because it's free, so that's where they'll put all their energy. So you need to have a fee. Understand, $20, $50, $100 a month, depending, there's on what ages you're accommodating. Obviously, you're accommodating, 18-year-olds, 20, 22-year-olds. There needs to be a price to lock out the crazies, but you need to at the same time not make it expensive. You understand? And the money the money, it greatly helps, because you still have to vet, but it greatly helps in the vetting. You'll be surprised. Someone says $5, all of a sudden the guy that's living under the bridge doesn't come. You understand? It's just reality. It's just reality. So, this is the lesson. This is the teaching. And it's crucial. It's crucial that women understand what's happening. And first of all, they accept the help. If, let's say, a man thinks of opening up this place, because a man can think of opening up a date house, but I'm not talking about an app. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a date house. A man can think about opening up a date house, but the women don't come. They think it's wrong. Their honor, whatever, honor women, sometimes whenever they think something is against their honor, they just will never do it. You understand? And they'll self-destruct. There's nothing dishonorable about it. In fact, it is honor. You're making the people will be vetted. There's a small fee. You understand? There's a fee for the men and the women. This is not a I don't know those drinking places. I don't know whatever they're called. That the women are allowed in for free, but the men have to pay. It's not what we're talking about. Everybody has to pay. Everybody has to pay. So this is, extremely important. Extremely important, and would be extremely helpful. And this is the correct process. It doesn't mean that if someone approaches you, that since it wasn't in the date house, of course people can approach you. But you need to have a place. And remember, if you're not interested, say it. You understand? Say, no, I'm not interested. No thank you, but no thank you. Have a great day. Once you say no thank you, but I appreciate it. Once you give that appreciation, then they'll never stop. You understand? Either way, you understand? So you just say no thank you. Have a great day. You understand? So this is extremely crucial. Extremely. We're talking about. We're talking about, doing, a person tries to be righteous, but if they don't finish the process, if they're lazy, then they just hurt themselves. You need to do things in the correct way. You need to finish the process. And you need to have guidance, you understand? It's hard for one person to figure out everything. Few people are that smart, and even those people don't know everything. You understand? They also need in certain areas to ask. We have to start loving ourselves. Not loving ego, not loving jealousy, not loving honor, but love ourselves. Want ourselves to have a happy life. A good spouse, good kids, a good community, successful, a good place in the next world. Those are the things that have to be on our mind, not our ego, not our anger, our arrogance, all these things. What has to be on our mind is true happiness, true success. We need to work on it, because right now we're just being controlled. We're being monopolized. A person is pious but is filled of ego and stupidness and laziness. And you can't act that way. You can't act that way. You need to put in the effort. Look at all these lefties, how they put in so much effort into their evilness. As a good person, of course, you put a lot of effort to stay good. You understand? But you also have to put in effort to finish the process. Not just say, I'm going to be a pious woman, but we have to figure out how what's considered proper. We have to create a derech, a way that a man could come and approach us and take us out. We need to create a way, because if there's no way, how are they supposed to approach us? And if the only way is severe torture, you understand? The only way is tremendous pain, then why would a man do that? You understand? Why would a man do that? So women need to think, what am I doing? What am I doing? You need to create a pathway. If the man is handsome, rich, successful, but is known to be a jumper, or he jumps upon women, and he he asks you out, you say no, and you want to have nothing to do with him. But if he's a pious person, it could be he's not making as much money. It could be he doesn't work out every day in the gym. You understand? Do you really respect piousness? Do you really respect loyalty? And if you don't yet, then you need to do it. You need to work on that. You have to think, if this person is a jumping person, why when he gets to me, won't he jump as well? He'll jump with me and he'll jump to the next person. But a pious man won't do that. And I'll have a husband for my kids. I'll have a husband that loves me and cares about me. You need to think about truth and the goodness that comes out of it, instead of just a superficial way of looking at life, of money, the person's handsome, he's tall, the superficial way of looking at life. You have to take your piousness to a deeper level. I love you, and Hashem loves you more.